Hi, Shikha.
Hi, Anupam. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Brilliant.
Ready?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's accept my formal good evening to you and formal good evening to everyone and welcome to the first session of Women's India Chamber of Commerce and Industry. My name is Anupam Singh. I'm an auxiliary alumnus, an HR professional working with an automotive giant, a public speaker, and a design thinking practitioner. And these days, I'm an active volunteer and state council member of WICI. It's my honor to be a moderator for this session, and I'm excited to be hosting this event on the topic which we have HR a step ahead of Posh. So I'm very pleased to introduce our today's speaker. She's in front of us. Her name is Shikha Verma. Shikha is an HR and OD professional. She has 17 years of experience as a human resource representative with wide-ranging multinational experiences she had. And also, she's a Posh practitioner and acted as an IC presiding member for more than 5 years. And two, currently she is an active volunteer in Wiki UP region as a state council member. So before I hand the access over to you, Shikha, I would like to extend my warm gratitude to founder and national president of Wiki, Dr. Harbin Arora, for providing this platform and an opportunity to get connected. So in terms of Wiki, what exactly they are doing? So it has been established based on experience of Women Economic Forum, wherein entrepreneurs have greatly benefited with networking, exchange, and collaborations. So without delay, let's move ahead and discuss about what we are talking from last couple of days. So Shikha, first of all, pleasure to have you today. And I just want to know your overall experience, how you deal with such a pertinent topic, POSH, which we talk about. And what we believe that the pandemic has redefined the paradigm of what is known as a workplace. It has been offered leaders an opportunity to relook entire their processes, like how they proactively address employees, their well-being, their safety. Choose a POSH as an act to propel organizations to compile with their mandate. The acts those are mandatory for the workplace and the safer in terms of their female employees. So, what do you think, Shikha?
Thank you so much, Anupam, for having me in this discussion. And thank you to Wiki UPHR for making me a part of the council and providing this opportunity to share my experience with you. When I think about Porsche, I just go back to 2014 when I just about joined my erstwhile company. At that time, this law was fairly new. People didn't know much about it. Today, at least, we have guides and mentors around or experts who can tell us more about it. So I was pretty much grappling, to understand what is it that the company needs to do, how we need to abide to it, what are the requirements of the act, and how we can take it beyond it. So I was pretty fortunate because we were looking at it from a culture perspective, and there were a lot of other things also that we plan to do, which I'll touch on as we move forward in the discussion. Going back to your question, Anupam, I think it's a very relevant question. These unprecedented times have thrown a lot of challenges at us, and one of the most obvious questions to ask is whether our home will be covered as a workplace definition or not under this act. To that, I think it's important you go back to the act itself and read section 2O, in which the subclause 6, it exhaustively and beautifully explains the workplace also includes any dwelling or house or home. Largely speaking, it was made from the context of house help at that time. But in today's context, given this crisis, by all means, it covers our houses from where we are operating. So it's important that we realize if there's a misconduct happening through social media, somebody's bothering you over the phone or even on WhatsApp chats, just because you're working from home, it can be definitely covered under the workplace definition. Uh, there are times when people get confused. Koi physical connect nahi hai. How can it
Hmm.
be covered under Sexual Harassment Act? There has to be a physical, misconduct, but that's
Hmm.
not true. The act is fairly non-exhaustive, inclusive, and explanatory. It has used terms like implied or expressed,
Hmm.
verbal or non-verbal. So it makes the scope quite large and it's quite holistic from that standpoint.
Hmm.
So it's important we have a deeper understanding, especially for subject matter experts or HR members IC members. We need to have a thorough understanding of this, and how to deal the case, that's a separate issue altogether.
True. So, if I talk about work from home, which generally is become the new accepted normal among everywhere, I could say every industry, and it's an uncharted territory for many of us. Like this is giving rise to pertinent questions like whether or not Posh extends to these newly designated workplaces. So can you throw some light over this? Like because sometimes we had a confusion like workplace, just a workplace. We are working from home. We are not supposed to be have any query in terms of harassment or something else. But recently, government also launched one of a few rules, like in terms of there are some harassments at workplace that has to be considered. So what's your views over this?
I think with the work canvas changing drastically, this new normal is uh, bringing in a lot of oblivion for us. So I know there are people working from WeWork kind of workplaces. They've given up their infrastructure. They're putting up in rented accommodations in their offices, or largely working from home. All of these spaces are meant for the work itself.
Mm,
So I think what I just mentioned, if you go back to the clause and the act, it will clarify this doubt very well. And
mm,
there are no gray areas, when it comes to understanding, even if it's a cab, the cab which is dropping you from the workplace, that is
mm,
also, you're in the cab because of your work requirement.
mm.
At the same time, when you're traveling because of work, that is also an extended workspace. So all of
True.
these areas get covered in the definition of workplace, including your homes. So any kind of misbehavior, misconduct will fairly account for sexual harassment, and the procedure can be followed.
So, ma'am, I could say it's been 7 years, like the since the law was, enforced. So, quite a few companies are struggling to meet the requirements of the act. And I would just like to have a highlight on this topic, like what kind of challenges, being a company or being an individual, you have faced that could recommend in that context.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of organizations are still struggling on the sensitization, Anupam.
Okay.
I think both male, female, and management needs to be more sensitized and educated on the subject. There's also lack of understanding of the act. No act can be helpful if women don't know their right.
True.
So it's important that women start to realize this is their right, right for dignity, right for respect at the workplace, and they're well educated on that. So when
Hmm.
we do training sessions like a tick, in the checkbox, there's lack of sensitization. We don't deal the subject in that way. So I was fortunate when I was working in one of my erstwhile companies. We worked on a theme called creating safe and secured workplace, and
Okay.
parallelly, we were also establishing a grievance redressal system, which
Mm-hmm.
was aimed to make grievances absolutely discreet and anonymous. So
Mm-hmm.
these two activities, when we did it parallelly, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of addressed two major attributes. One
Mm-hmm.
was sensitizing employees and making it more holistic,
Mm-hmm.
and second was that we needed to lay down a very strong process, which is gender neutral, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because it was a very overwhelming subject. In 2014, people weren't ready for it. And I was working in a factory. The men fraternity generally didn't see it in a very welcoming way. And it had
Mm-hmm.
it, stigmas to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't easy, and I largely feel that we've come a long way from there. There's
Mm-hmm.
still a lot of work to be done there, but
Mm-hmm.
these are two very crucial things to be looked into. I can give you an analogy, a very simple analogy. When we start building a process, and this is something I personally followed. When you look at the traffic light, you have this red signal, then you have a yellow signal, and then you have the green signal. So what is
Mm-hmm.
important for us to realize as HR is to first work on the red signal.
Mm-hmm.
Red signal is do absolute necessary things to meet the regulation,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise it's going to be a red flag for the organization and the company gets
Sure.
penalized. So the
Sure.
legal attributes have to be looked into to start with. The
Mm-hmm.
second is when you kind of sensitize people and make them doubly aware of what processes are available, how to file a case, who to go to, and make that information available. Unfortunately, I have seen organizations where the trainings happen, but the information of where to go and who to approach and how to do it, that communication is not well addressed. So there
Hmm.
are huge amount of gaps even today that needs to be looked into. So maybe something like posters would help, which gives you information of who are the IC members in your
True.
region or your locality, and at
Hmm.
the same time have a anti-sexual harassment kind of an email ID. So
Okay.
it makes it very very simple for anyone to directly approach that cell, and
True.
for obvious reasons it should be discreet and only accessible by the committee members.
Okay.
These are some basics that I feel there are challenges here, there are gaps there.
Hmm.
At the same time, going back to my analogy, the green signal is when you know that you have a process laid down. You
Hmm.
also know that you've taken care of your essentials when it comes to regulation. The
Hmm.
third phase is where you make a stronger ecosystem around it.
Hmm.
Make it
Hmm.
more focused on prevention. So if
True.
you see the act clearly says prevention, prohibition, and redressal. So,
Hmm.
so what we are doing is we are doing a lot of work, perhaps only on redressal.
Okay.
Companies need to start moving into a phase where they talk about building a stronger ecosystem and
Hmm.
work aggressively on taking care of prevention, because that's the proof of the pudding. Till the time we don't bring in an infrastructure or enable our IC members, have regular meetings or women committees formed in small branches or units or business units, so to say, it will not be possible for employees to have that level of confidence.
Hmm.
So I think prevention is the real key here. And I've seen
Hmm.
also the IC sometimes not fully aware or fully equipped with the tools or the knowledge that is required.
Hmm.
I personally faced that issue, where in a particular factory, I didn't have a matured individual who I could appoint as a presiding member. So we
Hmm.
had to appoint somebody who was really junior
Hmm.
and not that matured either to handle cases like that.
Hmm.
So she would generally need guidance, and from the head office as a corporate, presiding member, I would
Hmm.
assist her. But
Hmm.
so I completely understand there are practical issues. There are a lot
Hmm.
of day-to-day aspects that one needs to look into. Having
Hmm.
said that, if you have a good consultant, a good
Hmm.
partner, the fifth
Hmm.
member that you enroll, that
Hmm.
could be a good respite, to take care of the protocols, the documentation,
Hmm.
ensuring that compliance is taken care of, and the IC is well educated. They should
True.
be periodically trained on cases, and simulation should be given to them so that they're very clear on what they need to do. One big challenge I think they face is how to dispense judgment, Anupam,
Hmm.
because we're all human beings. We all come across these individuals on a day-to-day basis in our offices. We have
Hmm.
our own opinions about them. So,
Hmm.
so my one key tip here is that IC members really have to be very, very sensitized,
Hmm.
mature people, and they should be well balanced to be able
Hmm.
to dispense any such judgment and base the findings of the case only on the facts that come out. So that's a very, very crucial aspect that I think is important.
True. So it's moreover about awareness, like up to what level, you create that ecosystem, how you, I could say, departure all those trainings, and you must go in way of effectiveness at the same time. And there is a proper education to IC members also. So one more thing, like the people, those are committing, creating that committee, ICC committee to handle all those situations. And yes, there are some, I could say, correspondents have to, those are considering with your compliance part also. So if a person says, or if an organization says, like, I mean, it's just my gesture, like a new case filed, during a year or during a month, whenever we have a quarterly meetings or any ER, committees in manufacturing plants. So what does exactly indicate? Like, is it a perfect environment or something else?
Yeah, I've seen these kind of discussions happening in some conclaves that I've happened to be a part of. Honestly, Anupam, it's not a very good sign, because it's reflecting the lack of confidence more than anything else. These things happen to women day in and day out in subtle or strong ways. One thing that we know for sure, that women need to be doubly assured that if they come forward, they raise their voice, they will not be victimized. There's a certain level of confidentiality that will be taken care of, and at the same time, we need to take care of the education part, creating the ecosystem, and the leadership has to walk the talk. So there are three fundamental pillars that need to be looked into. There should be periodical trainings to sensitize women so that they can support each other. It's unfortunate when I see women, gossiping behind the back of that lady who's the aggrieved, who's filed a case. So this should not happen in organizations. We should have women fraternities supporting the other women. And at the same time, leadership has to ensure that the culture is so strong and there's no gossiping happening and the lady never feels victimized. These are things and practices, that will beget that level of confidence amongst women. And it's important that once the cases are handled, there is a certain level of communication going back to employees in a very generic fashion, without taking any names, so that the employees know that action is taken. That is what is going to repose that confidence amongst the women employees. Because once you and I know that the process is not just laid but followed, and it has been well communicated to us as an employee, we can always bank on the essential if we really want the act to do justice, because it's the need of the hour. We need to give voice to people who are exploited at the workplace. It's important that we develop this sense of security for women at any place, and it's also fairly. I think it needs to get destigmatized in every possible way. So all of us have a role to play there.
I believe, ma'am, like, say, when we talk about plants, when you talk about any corporate, different variety, or I could say different functionalities and HR personality carries, right? Either could be a plant HR, it could be your HR in corporate, those are sitting, and their dignities in terms of function wise are quite vary in terms of their job role. So when we talk about this POSH Act, people generally have those expectations. He or she from HR, he or she must be aware about what the job responsibilities are and how to tackle all these cases because they are quite critical in nature. So what role I would ask, like, in HR play to deal with this POSH effectiveness and to go beyond all these limits?
Yeah, that's so important in today's time. I think HR needs to make this broader and more holistic in every possible way. So they need to take it from compliance to culture building. And for all we know, because of this crisis, people have gone through immense amount of stress and anxiety levels. So this is the last thing that they can fathom or overcome. So it's important that as HR we start to inculcate an emotionally safe workspace by having more gender neutral policies where every single individual's respect is valued and upheld. So
Okay.
it should not be limiting to women. According to me, in today's time and age, I think everybody has the right to have full respect and dignity at workplace. And it's equally important because of this crisis that HR starts to look at it from a gender agnostic standpoint and make gender neutral policies and very strong code of ethics, which again needs to be reinforced from time and again during discussions, through posters. Reinforcement, according to me, is very important, because I've seen companies do it as a rudimentary thing, just to check in the box and they forget about it. So that doesn't work. When you're committed to create a culture in your company, it's important that the messaging is done consistently and with all sincerity, not just in letter but also in spirit. So I think that's very, very important. And the key lies in prevention. Like I said, fear of detection is the biggest prevention that any organization can create. So more the candor in the company, more the stringent policies around it, more the leadership's commitment to a theme like that from a culture standpoint, and being committed to it as a strategy for a long-term perspective. I think these things will bring about a drastic change.
True, and I still remember the case. I mean, I remember the time when I used to be working with my erstwhile company. There is a female, and I could not take the name of the organization, but yes, there are some criticality of, I could say, nature of the cases. And at the last, what happened? A female is bound to resign from the job. So I believe in proper awareness, not to create the fudge about these kind of cases, because what happens when a female, move into such kind of incident, they generally have that kiosk in mind how to deal with all these things. So this is the time when we, as an HR, plays a very critical role to make the things understand to them, like this is how it's going to be. You know, need to be fair about whatever is going on. What do you think,
Yes,
ma'am?
I can add one example, one or two examples there, because I've seen this personally. There's a small town girl who's working in a BPO kind of an environment, and on every birthday they would do cake cutting and cake smudging, like a
Hmm.
ritual. So
Hmm.
this girl, because she was from a small town, she didn't quite appreciate this practice, and she wanted to take a break on her birthday. Her
Hmm.
leave was not granted, and on that birthday date, she was, forcefully, played around with. The cake was
Hmm.
smudged on her face, and she cried. She went to the washroom, and then she complained. She
Okay.
filed a harassment case against that leader.
Hmm.
So it was quite evident. The leader had a plea saying it was a regular practice, and I don't think there's any reason why she should make a hue and cry around it.
Yeah.
And we need to explain this and sensitize every person around, saying that it's just because it has been happening, it doesn't mean it is right. And
True.
it also doesn't mean that it's acceptable by every
Hmm.
woman around you. So
Hmm.
if she is resenting it, she's refusing it, she's already indicating she's not comfortable, you must be respectful towards that choice of that individual. So I
True.
think it's a matter of sensitization more than anything else. It's a much bigger issue, Anupam. The organization is a part of a society, right? And I think all of us know that we have stereotypes. Even as parents, we tell boys not to cry. Boys don't cry. And
Hmm.
go shopping for our own children. We
Hmm.
ensure we buy cars for our boys and dolls for our girls.
Hmm.
We have a very fixed mindset when it comes to choice of colors for women and for
True.
boys. So there is this unconscious bias which has been doing rounds, and it is kind of instilled in our children, and which is the reason why you and I become girls who want to keep ourselves quiet and tolerate as much as is possible, so that there is
Hmm.
no issue and people don't
Hmm.
build gossip around us,
Hmm.
and men can get away with anything. So that is something that needs to change,
True.
and we can fairly well change it by sensitizing every person around it, as a brother, as a father, as a son, so that they start to propagate this message around them. I think that's very, very essential in today's time and age,
And
that
I
we have a.
believe it only, yeah. So I believe it only starts with the mindset. We need to work on the mindset of every individual. Yes, it's somehow not definitely, but slowly it will be gradually. I could say it could be happen if we give them counseling or mention on specified topics, like this is what it is, how it's going to be work at all. So, ma'am, there are some companies, I could say, those are examining the root of the issue of sexual harassment by adopting a various strategies, including their 360-degree perspective. They are transferring their entire work culture, to be more inclusive in safer for female employees, and they are going beyond what is mandate for POSH Act. So, what do you think? I mean, just in highlight.
In terms of diversity inclusion, I think that's a good idea. We must go beyond the obvious, like we just spoke about HR, making it more gender agnostic and more inclusive, and talk about respect and dignity for all.
Hmm.
It is essential, include this as one of the agendas for diversity inclusion for sure. I kind of agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of Posh only recently, there are some, I mean, just an addition, there are some actions that have been took over by Ministry of WCD, right? They have recently launched She-Box, right? Which is more of a talk about sexual harassment electronic box in 2017. wherein it's just an online complaint management system wherein the entire documentation, the redressal committee, grievances, and everything, pick up on the employee female basis, and the government and private sector that has been enabled for. So women at today's time, like where they are working from home, where they're enabling all those things, they can use these kind of, I could say, options also if they're facing any issues.
True, true.
And
As per
because
recent survey, Anupam, unfortunately, 78% cases still are not registered.
oh,
People are not reporting it. So,
mm,
so we need to be, doubly careful of how and what we implement more than what we say. So, I'm in
true,
agreement with what you're suggesting, and in spirit, these things need to be practiced. You know. By all means, that level of confidence needs to go up. I think women
true.
today still are very, very shy to come forward. They
Mm,
feel there's a huge stigma around it if they voice their concerns. I myself have gone through those dilemmas where I've tried to, ignore it or tolerate it, and then finally come to a realization that it's not worth succumbing to. So it's important that each one of us raise our voice so that we make a difference for the future generations and women who come on board.
That's true. I mean, there are some valid reasons. There are valid, I can say, checks and balances ones need to have to consider. And I could say, in light of all this discussion, the conversation we had today, I could conclude that it is advisable to have, that safeguards and internal checks. I mean, while introducing your working policy or while introducing your POSH policy. So I may agree that there are some viewers, those are watching to us, might be agree with this statement. Yes, we need to be have a proper induction plan. We need to have proper awareness sessions. How all these policies, work upon for female and not for female, for males also. So because generally people have that mindset, if this is a posh, this is for females. It's not totally like that. I mean, there are some contradictory issues. I could say, I mean, you must be agreeing with this statement, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. And I personally included this as one of the topmost compliances for any new joinees. So we had these online compliance modules, one for sexual harassment and the other for grievance redressal hotline and the code of ethics. So they were
Mm,
supposed to go through every bit of it and attempt the test and do their self declaration for having a good enough understanding of these nuances. So it's absolutely imperative to include it for new joinees and also the leadership levels. So I have had several extensive trainings lined up, right from junior most level till the top level for both groups, women and for male. Just because it was too new a subject, we ensured we did separate groups initially, and then we had question answer sessions online, reinforcements and knowledge nuggets sent out so that they have
mm-hmm.
a better understanding of the subject. And we
True.
set some simulations so that if there is any dilemma, they would be, they'll get clarity on that. Uh, Through small mailers, I think that did wonderful work for us.
So it totally depends upon how effective your HR process is, practices you have for people. So I could say, thank you so much for this lovely insights. I could this definitely been informative. I mean, not for me, for everyone those have been watching to us. And yes, it was an amazing time listening to you, ma'am. Like the insights you have been dealt with in terms of workplace harassment, in terms of your suggestions, and I'm sure the community will immensely benefit from all these takeaways.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Anupam, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you,
And
view.
again, yeah, I mean, thank you for joining us, ma'am. Like this is for our first session. I mean, we have decided organize on the platform on, and this is very critical topic in terms of women empowerment. If we talk about, and yes, we would be happy to have address any query if comes up way by the viewer side, by anyone side to reach out any council member of our platform.
Definitely.
Thank you,
Definitely.
ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.